You guys have been my supporters and help for years.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so Chief Thomas, first of all, what was your reaction tonight?
You know, I think it was I was very moved by the number of students that showed up. We had probably a couple of hundred students that could not come inside, which is phenomenal. Dr. Jackson leaned over to me and says, he's never seen this room so full, and and full not just with people, but full with the passion and the desire for our students to make change, which is, for me as a chief, it's really encouraging that our students are passionate enough about what happened that they want change, just like I do. I mean, what we saw on those videos, which I've been looking at for the last few days, very disturbing. It's very disturbing to me as the chief of DPS, and it's very disturbing to the Los Angeles Police Department. That's not what we expect of our officers that patrol our streets.
You talked about USC students not knowing their neighbors. What do you think, going off of tonight, some efforts that could be made to make that relationship better?
I like keeping things very simple, and it's as simple as getting to know your neighbor. A lot of our students, they live in the surrounding community. They have no interaction with the people that have lived there for years. And it's the same with our long-term residents. They don't know our students. And to the degree that people living on a block know each other, and there's a sense of community. And our students will go to the other side of the world to make a difference. I'm just asking that they make a difference in the neighborhoods around USC. I don't think there's any better investment, because each one of these elementary schools around USC, there's needs. There's kids that need to be tutored. There's kids that go home at night and they don't have anyone to help them with their homework, so they don't turn it in. And it kind of spirals. These are simple, quick fixes. Work with the neighbors to improve the conditions on that block. Our students live on these blocks. There's things that can be done to make for a better community. I mean, because you guys want the same thing as the people that live in the neighborhoods. They want a safe, clean community. You guys want it's the same thing. You're here for 4 years. Make that investment in the community. That's all I'm saying. Very simple. Get to know your neighbor.
Going on a different tangent here, one question that a lot of students have asked is, why wasn't there more of a DPS presence at this incident? Can you answer that?
I can answer that. First of all, the call went directly to LAPD, but our officers showed up. I expected my officers are going to take more of a proactive role in that case. These are our students. They know these students. I don't expect that our officers are going to fade into the background. I want our officers to take the lead in these situations where our students are dealing with the police, intervene on their behalf. I was very disappointed at what I saw from some of our officers. I'll be the first to say that. But again, I wasn't there. I don't know the full dynamics. I'm just saying, as chief, next time I expect more.
And do you think that was a breakdown at the leadership of who was on the scene, or how do you think that happened?
I think what happens in those situations, that because it was LAPD's call, the supervisors from LAPD took the lead. However, they're still our students. And what we want to work at making improvements is putting together a better response, because maybe the response should be a DPS and LAPD officer in plain clothes. Because whenever you have a party, what's the worst knock that you hear? And that's the police showing up, because everything changes once the first cop shows up and they're in uniform. How about the students interacting with the officers to ensure that the party is safe beforehand, and they establish a point of contact? This is nothing new. We do this on the road every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Why can't we replicate it in the communities, the parties in the community? And that's all we need to do, I think, because I think that to the degree that our students and our officers know what to expect and the community knows what to expect, we won't have these issues.
And one thing that was brought up and has been brought up this whole year is not enough easy access to space on campus for students to use for social activities, especially at night. We heard from a community member tonight that we do live in an urban community. We're not a campus with a big sprawling campus. So what are some ways the administration can address that issue and students can address that issue to bring more responsible, I guess, social activities, especially on campus?
Well, it makes my job easier if the social activities are on campus, and for years that's what I've been encouraging, as opposed to having these events in the community where you're subjected to noise complaints. I would prefer that we have more of them maybe right here in TCC and places on campus. That way we have a better handle at, providing for a safe environment. I think that the things that the students can do, and particularly student government, USG, and the elected bodies that represent the students, that they make it very clear that these are things that we as students are asking of the university, and we're asking in the interest of ensuring our safety and making sure that there is a place that we can go to on a regular basis to have these events. And without a lot of hoops and without a lot of expense.
And going back to the response to the incident on Friday night, have you spoken with senior members of LAPD about how to handle these situations in the future?
And fortunately, I've coming from LAPD, I already have those relationships, and I can tell you, as these are not just people that are my colleagues and peers in law enforcement, they're my friends. So when they tell me, what we saw is disturbing, I know that they're speaking from their heart, and they're genuinely truthful about getting to a solution, and that's what I heard. You wouldn't have the Inspector General here, you wouldn't have someone from the mayor's office here if this wasn't something that impacted people greatly. And that's what you had here, and that's what you had at the meeting yesterday. This touched a lot of people. This shouldn't happen. I'll be the first to tell you, this should not happen. But I'm grateful that the students have given us an opportunity, Ricky Pierce, to dialogue and to trust us. They have no reason to trust us after what happened, law enforcement, because in a lot of ways we failed. And the reality is, the biggest stretch and leap of faith was done by you guys. I'm just grateful that the relationship was already there. And as I said before, I was out of town when this happened, and the first call I got wasn't from DPS, it wasn't from LAPD, it was a student at the scene who said, "Chief Thomas, get out here. This is chaos." And I told her, "Explain to me what's going on," and she was telling me what was going on. And it's very disturbing to me to see that same student handcuffed, laying on her stomach. She was talking to me, and I'm thinking to myself, how did this happen? Literally, she was talking to me when that happened.
Who was your next call?
My next call, well, first of all, I started getting calls from other students, Chief Thomas, and people, I take a lot of flack from, why do you give your cell phone number out to students? That's why. Because, had I not gotten that call when I did, I wouldn't have been involved. I would not have been in a position to talk to LAPD about OR, getting them out early. I would not have been in a position to start talking to their parents, and parents are calling me, I'm in another state, they're in another state, what's going on with my kid? And because of my relationship with LAPD, I'm able to tell them, okay, this is what happened, this is what your child has been booked for, and this is what I'm doing. I'm watching your kid, and all those things. So,
did you call LAPD and find out why they had responded the way they did?
I called the supervisor on scene immediately, but at the time the situation was fluid, and he could only give me so much because he was trying to deal with the situation. At that time, he didn't believe that there was going to be any arrest. I found out that there was arrest from other students. Students are being arrested. I called LAPD. What are the students being arrested for? So,
who was your point of contact at DPS at that time? Or what was your communication with them, and what was their communication with the
I had minimal
responders?
I was disappointed. I had minimal contact with DPS. I had more contact with students. I talked to the DPS supervisor on scene, but again, she was like the LAPD sergeant, handling the situation or in the mix of it, so she couldn't give me information. The information I was getting, I hate to tell you, was coming from students that were calling. That's how I was in the loop.
I have one question I've been kind of thinking about. It's a little hard, but what role do you think alcohol played in this entire thing? Was the crowd rowdy from the videos that you've seen, or?
I've seen enough USC parties. Nothing out of the normal other than the fact that the students seem very, very agitated. But I've been to so many USC parties and seen them and stopped them and talked to students. Didn't see a whole bunch out of the ordinary, other than the fact that the students seemed very, very agitated. And I think a lot of it had to do with just the posture and the position and the way the police showed up. Our students are not used to that, and I don't want them to get used to that. The reality is, I think, there was a lot of emotion on both sides. And I think when you have emotionally charged officers and emotionally charged public at the same time, this is what you get. Our desire is to ensure that we take the emotion out and we have a softer, better response. Because parties in the community are going to happen. USC students are not going to stop having parties because of this. We just got to be better prepared as to how we're going to respond next time. And the only way we can do that better is by talking and working with you guys closely.
Anything else you'd like to add?
The thing that I said earlier is really important. I want our students to engage the community that they live in. You live on a block, get to know the people on your block. That makes for a safer community and also helps your cause when you want to have that party, because they know you and you can interact, and they know you can go to them and say, we're going to have a party tomorrow night. It might get loud. If it gets loud, contact me and we can tone it down. That's being a good neighbor. So,
thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm sorry you guys waited so long. I appreciate it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.